Answer any questions, and then I'll address comments by the public.
Okay. All right. This item agenda for the Arbors does have a public hearing. I'd like to do that at this time.
Robin Jaffe at 562 Forest Park Circle. Most of you have seen this letter before, parts of it, so I will just focus on the newer issues and now present this to the commission to continue. You know, although the project was denied as stated in the October Planning Commission meeting minutes of October 10, 2018, and the Planning Department has reviewed the new plat and again recommend for the approval, the concerns still do exist. Concerns including the elevation of our properties as compared to all the arbors. The plat drawing has some issues that still have to be addressed. The traffic concerns haven't been addressed. And we are aware of the provision of the NC9 zoning that driveway space must be provided for each, for at least 2 cars per home, which adds a lot of cars to the area. Now, what I'd like to address though is the drainage and the public health and the safety issues that still exist. Most importantly, the city must not allow contaminants to go from construction sites into the water table. There have already been problems and citations for construction runoff into our creeks, our drinking water from this development. This is only monitored by one person, as I've been told and asked about at the last meeting by Dr. Mr. Bennett, who was recently hired to monitor all construction sites when it rains. How is that possible? How can one person do all the projects that are going on at this time? Why would the city allow for more development to happen than what they can properly monitor? We encountered this problem before with illegal fires on nearby developments. The fire department had to come out every day to instruct the developer to put out a fire. A fine was put in place to combat this problem. The fines for these violations should be equal to the potential health risks to citizens. Otherwise, it is not a deterrent, and we all pay for the price. The site must be properly prepared to prevent further runoff. The property under the proposed housing on the south side of the arbors was used as a dumping site for a construction company. What is being done to prevent harmful contaminants from leaching into our water table or harming the people who will live there in the future? What about the structural impact on the homes that are built on the top of it? We ask that the city should determine what toxins are present and that that property is safe for construction before it approves building on that property. Could the commission at least add requirements to that for the developer to prove that all toxins from the underground dump have been properly dealt with and the stability of the site be determined before construction is allowed to start? There is history of flooding and bogs in this property. This will be exasperated, I can never say this word, exasperated by, thank you, by the steep entry road from White Street. There is also already a problem with flooding at our drains and in the creek that goes through Kerry Woods. The entire property is well below all the neighbors, but there is also only one detention pond in far corner. This is not adequate drainage for the additional houses, with the water running down all the surrounding embankments. What is being done to alleviate all the flooding? We are requesting strongly a very detailed land forensic study of the additional properties to the arbors for these issues to be resolved before final approval. Lastly, the new layout of the cul-de-sac instead of the dead-end street, well, while we are thankful for the adjustment made to eliminate the dead-end street, there are still potential problems for property line disputes for future owners because of the odd-shaped layouts for lots 33, 34, 35, 36, and 40. They can be adjusted easily without detriment to the number of lots in this proposal. No lots will ever look like these in the final plat though. So why are they approved like this? Isn't it possible that after purchasing the properties for these lots is complete, the developer plans to get rid of these lots and put in a street to Drake Avenue? That is exactly why. In our opinion, developments should be not approved in an unprofessional state. These things, like misshapen lots, should be fixed before approval, as this is the design on the table now, not the future proposal for this site. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the commission?
Good evening once again. I apologize for speaking out of turn earlier concerning the dead-end street and the right-of-way that is being turned into a cul-de-sac there. I want to say that my mother, my brother, and another family member is here that owns interest in that property from JTM Enterprise. Previously, that street right-of-way had been negotiated in a conditional form in which the developer would develop the street and pay for the cost of it. But since that time, my mother being retired and not really abreast with what had transpired at that time with my father's death, there was a lawsuit filed because the development went stale. And since that time, JTM Development Company has not relinquished their position from the developer. So if that street is continued, it is showing on the map that that right-of-way is being not disputed by JTM, but there is going to be a resurrection of the dispute because of what they did not do. My mother had no knowledge. My mother's 84. She's here tonight. She talked with the developer made her some kind of an offer. She was not aware of what was going on. My mother owns property, but she's not a developer. My father was a developer. So JTM never sold their total interest in all of the property. So I stand here tonight saying that other family members, other parties that own part of JTM is not satisfied, along with the property owners that owns the property in the rear. Tentatively, we had planned to develop that property for low-cost housing. That's the only buffer that stands between the homeowners that own those small homes on White Street, on Donahue Drive. The property owners on Donahue Drive, a lot of them was here earlier. They couldn't stay because they're elderly people. They're retired. They do not want that traffic that's going to come with those additional lots. Like I said, my mother's 84. She needs the money, but I don't think that we need it that bad that we're going to disrespect people that have lived in that Northwest Auburn quadrant over this period of time. So once again, I want to say that there's going to be some oppositions about Mr. Palmer and that right-of-way, along with his engineer. We filed claims against both of those people, which right now we are having attorneys to look into resurrecting those claims so we can be compensated for the injustice that was done by them just going stale or going bankrupt. They picked it up, but they're not taking the responsibility. I just want to say that the people is not in favor of that type of development going in the rear. We had originally planned for those to be low to moderate homes. But those homes, if you're facing Donahue Drive, those are retirees. Those people are not in favor. Some of them just could not afford to be here, but I speak for those people as well. And they will show up at the next meeting, I think.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jackson. Anyone else?
May I say, the rhetoric that my brother just disseminated to you all is not totally correct. My mother is quite competent as to what she's doing, the business transaction she's considering with the developer. She's well aware of all that's involved, so please consider that as well.
Sir, what was your name?
Henry Jackson.
Henry Jackson, thank you. Anyone else? If there is,
Can I-
sorry.
Can I stay in my seat and say something?
Yes, ma'am.
I
Your name?
It's Sarah Jackson. I'm the owner of the property after my husband died, and I'm willing to sell it because I need to sell it. And he stated in the will before he died, if I needed to sell anything, to sell it. My son wants the property for himself. That's why he's making all these excuses and coming up there trying to block it. But it is not true. I want to sell the property because I need.
Under those terms.
Under those terms, because I need the money to live out.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Okay.
Will there be anyone else?
Shannon Hankus, 556 Forest Park Circle. I'm just here to reiterate some of the concerns before at the previous meeting, and that was with erosion and runoff from this property. As I understand, he's been cited twice for it, and one has just been recently. I wanted to share these photos with you all, so you can see what has been happening. The runoff goes into the watershed. These creeks flow into the Sagahatchee. It started in September and has reoccurred. For some reason, he can't seem to figure out how to prevent this. And some of the facts about the sediment is that sediment pollution causes $16 billion in environmental damage annually, and most of it is contributed from construction. So I'm hoping that the commission can say something to address this issue that we're having with this development behind us. And the other, I know it's probably not in your purview, but it would be that this developer consider sidewalks. He is stating this is a family development for family homes, 9. He has stated that he only intends to put sidewalk on one side of that small square. This property is in the middle of 2 primary schools, Drake and Cary Woods. If it's a family subdivision, there will be children walking, and we hope that they'll be protected by some sidewalks going in initially. And a traffic study as well.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Will there be anybody else?
My name is Thomas Allen. I live 328 West Lake Avenue. My property is joining this property back here. But I'm really trying to figure out who my neighbors are. Since I've been living there, I moved there in 1982. And if I move a rock, the neighbor calls the city. If my dog barks, the neighbor calls the city. And I heard him saying something about a contractor turning his land into a landfill. What I was doing when I cut a bunch of trees down on my property, I found I had a lot of low spots. And I had checked with the city, and they told me I could put biodegradable type items in those low spots. After doing that, I had about 20 loads, dump truck loads of topsoil to come in and fill in all those low spots and so forth. But my question is, I'm just trying to figure out who my neighbor is, because I get all these complaints. I get it from the city, but I don't get it from my neighbors. Now, I had one neighbor that called me about my dog barking and so forth, but he's barking because stray cats coming from his neighborhood, his side to my side, my dog's gonna bark. He's not used to that cat. We got back in the back before they started developing this property. We had deer. I could sit in my yard, I could stand in my kitchen and look at the deer eating apples out of my tree. And now the deer are gone. They're gone because they trying to do something with the property and so forth. I thought neighbors, we're supposed to just talk to each other, communicate. And he called me, and one of my neighbors did call me a few times about my dog barking. But he called me and tried to talk to me like I was his little child. But I'm almost old enough to be his daddy, and he don't know that. I might not look it, but I am. but he's gonna talk to me respectfully and so forth. And I'm just concerned. We got neighbors, the last meeting I was here, they didn't know I was here, and they were complaining about a road being cut through my property or whatever the story is. But I don't understand, some of these here right now got property in Auburn that needs to be torn down. They trying to hinder this man from developing some property. They got property that needs to be pushed over. I mean, I got 2 houses across the street from me that one person said he's 70, 80 some years old and so forth, and the houses look older than that because they won't do anything about it. They bringing down the value of my property. I think the city needs to address that, have these houses either put something in the play where they either develop them, paint them, put some windows in them, or do something. Instead of just letting them sit there, because that's where I was born. That's not what this is all about. We're trying to make the city look better, and I know I might be beating a dead horse, but I still feel like I need to say what I'm saying. Now, I don't see what would be worse, some students and some extra cars, or some neighbors that you can't deal with. You can't deal with. I think I can deal with students.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Anybody else? I see no one. I will close the public hearing and ask for discussion with the commissioners. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Jumped ahead, sorry.
Maxwell.
Mr. Maxwell, come on up. Sorry about that.
It's been a long time since I've been in front of this commission, but Dr. McCord was here then. And you're back.
That was back around World War II.
Yeah, it was about that time. And a few people still, Allison's still here, she got a promotion. So. Anyway, Tom still said something. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. The last gentleman seemed like he was in favor, if y'all didn't understand that, I think he was in favor of this development. This development is in NC9, as you've been told. That's neighborhood conservation. It will not allow student housing. Students can't live here, no more than 2 unrelated, right? That's the definition of single-family houses. And this development was planned some 12 years ago. That was, if y'all remember, that was before the Great Recession. A lot of us went through some turmoil during that time. But a lot of the grading and some of the utility work was done at that time. Now, forward to last year, Mr. Palmer contacted me, and we dusted off the preliminary plat, got that approved again, as y'all been told. And then this year, he's made some deals with neighbors and to buy a couple of 3 extra parcels. The one is the JTM Enterprises, and as you heard, the rightful owner and the person who controls that is for this part of the development. That's the northwest corner. The south parcels, there was no attempts to confuse anyone. Last 2 months ago, when I presented this, we have looked at a road going all the way to Drake. In order to do that, we would have had to tear down an existing house, lose money on that, and the additional road just didn't make sense. It's not needed from a traffic standpoint. There's not enough traffic generated by this development to warrant a second connection to Drake that close together. The traffic will be the same type traffic. We've got, I think, and matter of fact, the lot layout, can you put the lot layout back up here? The lot layout on the JTM property, just to note, that lot layout was done for Mr. Lindbergh Jackson. That's exactly like he had it, and that's what we
Point out
planned.
JTM.
JTM Enterprise.
Yes. Point the property out.
Want the property out?
You got the clicker?
Oh.
Top button there.
Newfangled stuff here. Okay, this is the lot one, this is somebody else's lot here. that one, that one, that one, that one, that one.
Okay.
All the way to this little dash line, which was an old 20-foot right of way. I think we've already had it vacated, but I'm putting it on here again to be vacated. So that's the property line, right here between, the previous property and the JTM Enterprises property, okay? And so the plan all along, in working with JTM, years ago, was to, again, put this road in and connect to White Street, just like I've got it shown, almost exactly like I've got it shown. With the addition of the back parts of these two properties, we added another 6 lots down here. So we just put a little, instead of a cul-de-sac here, we put a stub out down to the south, and a cul-de-sac there, and contrary to the gentleman's opinion that this lot layout is weird, this is exactly like I've been doing it for 28 years. This dimensions, the frontage on the road, the cul-de-sac meets the requirements for the NC9 zoning. This subdivision is permitted by right. It's single-family residential, that's what's permitted in the NC9. All the lots meet the 65-foot front dimension, and everything else is, as far as I know, everything else is right. Oh, let me make, the detention pond was mentioned. The detention pond that's in there now was done for the original 30-lot subdivision. It was oversized a little bit in order to accommodate these lots, which at that time, we were fairly certain we were gonna be doing. So these six additional lots here, 6.5, 7, whatever, were all included in the detention requirements for this pond. The detention requirements adding these lots down here was not included, but we're at a preliminary plat stage. Y'all approve this tonight, then we go to design stage. And in design stage, that pond will have to be designed and built to accommodate all 44, 45 lots, whatever we got here. 44 new lots. So that'll be taken care of. Runoff and sediment and muddy water runoff is an issue, but it's an issue as somebody, well, they said $19 billion in the United States. All that didn't come from here, just to point that out. But this project is being inspected by a local qualified credentialed inspector, a qualified credentialed professional. Mr. Palmer is out here all the time as well, his contractor. And this subdivision, except for the White Street area and the cul-de-sac, because they haven't been designed yet, are already graded. So there's very little grading to be done, and that most of that will be the roads to grade. Most of the grading will be just minor grading left for the each house development. Okay, so we're not disturbing very much more dirt at all, and that we'll start paving more than likely in or putting base down in January. So there has not been a citation recently, according to my understanding. There was a citation 10 years ago. Again, that was taken care of at that time. The site was grassed, but we're in a new era now. New owner, new developer, and we're doing our very best with it. The city of Auburn, we have an inspector. The city of Auburn has an inspector, and ADM has an inspector, and ADM inspector's been out there as well. So, any other questions? I'll be glad to
I
answer.
think there was another issue, someone brought up about sidewalks.
There's a sidewalk on one side of the street now. A sidewalk on two sides of the street is only required on a collector street. There's no sense in having a collector. This is not, doesn't even meet the definition of a collector street. This is local cul-de-sacs and local roads. You know, not that it's two sidewalks wouldn't, I don't know, I never saw a reason for them. I would put a bigger sidewalk on one side than one on each side. But that's just not required in this zone.
Planning to do sidewalks, that's planned.
The sidewalk is
required.
Yes, it is required, and they will be on there. Yes, sir.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
As far as from this, talk to us a little bit about this right of way dispute, land dispute. When these facts come to us, most of that's usually resolved, and it seems to be
Yeah,
a
well,
new
that-
issue here that.
That's entirely between two private parties. We take the application, it's our belief that it's been represented legally and appropriately. If it's not, they can deal with each other in a court of law.
And I tried to cover that to begin with, Mr. Lasby, or Dr. Lasby here. Matt. Okay.
I've got mine, it's not an issue for us. If we.
And it's not an issue between us and Ms. Jackson. Because Ms. Jackson has signed the notice, the authorization to act as applicant for us to come and apply for this. And she has a contract, current contract with Mr. Palmer. I think Mr. Lindbergh Jackson has some issues there. I think his brother mentioned that. And I knew his father very well.
Yeah, we filed charges against you and the development, but that wasn't, she didn't own JTM, she just owned that one parcel on the opposite side. The right of way was.
Okay, gentlemen, we might want to keep this to between the commissioners to Maxwell.
I never got a notice of a lawsuit, but I'd be interested in seeing it.
It'll be resurfaced.
Okay.
So we can get on with it. Y'all can have your own dispute, we don't.
I'm not gonna have a dispute.
I move to approve item number 11 on the agenda with staff comment.
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second.
Well, before we vote,
Okay.
I'd just like to, I'd like some assurance. I mean, we've heard for quite some time about the drainage and particularly the impact on property to the east. Yeah, and I'd like some assurance that that's gonna be dealt with in a way that's satisfactory to your neighbors.
That's a requirement of EPA, federal regulations, and unfortunately, sometimes you have rain events that, bypass and overexert our detention ponds, but at this point, that's only acting as a, sedimentation pond, okay? And like I said, we'll have, the paving will start, the basic material start first of January, all the grading, just about all the grading has been done. So there's no other very little dirt moving plan which will produce, any kind of sediment or anything.
Keith, if we have a 2-inch rain in a 24-hour period, will there be any more sediment runoff? In other words,
2 inches in 24 hours?
Well, I'm just saying, some significant rain event.
Generally, the pond is supposed to cover a 100-year storm as developed, okay? But the pond, as it's functioning now as a sediment pond, it is large enough and meets and exceeds the requirement for the detention for sediment, I think.
I think what Dan was saying is, if we have a significant rain event before you get built, will there be any, do you think there'll be any significant runoff? Can you mitigate?
If you have a rain event that exceeds the design of the pond, yes, sir, unfortunately, but we currently have flocculation blocks in the pond. The point is, when you get muddy water running off, that's normally clay, because clay will not drop out of the stream. It stays suspended, and so that's why we put these flocculation blocks and spray PAM on sites, so that makes the clay soils flock together. I talked for 10 years, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be, but anyway. So we're gonna do everything we can, Dr. Ford, to keep that from happening, but I can't promise you what the rain's gonna do, because we've had some significant rains.
I just knew you were saying, we're not gonna move any more dirt, we're not ready to start paving. My one was, are you prepared now?
We're buttoning the site up now. When the lot clearing, we did a mass grading plan 2 months ago, and so a lot of that's done. And so when that's done, the whole site will be grassed and mulched, so that we're waiting on the houses to be built, okay? And the roads are in the process.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks.
Okay, well, you've been schooled, right, she knows you.
This is PL 2018
Okay. Yeah, okay, yeah, all right.
All right, we're gonna move on to, agenda item number 12. PL 2018, course, 714 Conway pre-zoning from rural to limited development district, Mr. Kip.
Yes, sir. This is a request to pre-zone approximately 24.03 acres from the rural to limited development district. This was a annexation request that you just saw in the consent agenda that you approved. So now they're coming in and seeking to change the zoning from the default of rural to LDD. Staff is recommending denial, as we did in 2016, when the other portion of the property was present for rezoning as well. This is just the quick summary is it doesn't match with the surrounding zoning or surrounding land uses of rural. Rural lots are typically a single-family home on 3 acres. Most of the lots in the area are much larger than 3 acres. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Blake Rice of Barrett Simpson Inc. is the authorized representative for the project, and happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Rice, you want to say anything in particular?
Good evening. Late evening. I was before this commission 2 years ago on the piece of property seen just to the south of the outlined area that is shown as an LDD. I brought a annexation or rezoning request with a conditional use and a PEDD overlay. It was I think a couple of y'all will remember this.
I remember.
It was scheduled for an assisted living facility, and that facility was approved, and the developer unfortunately was never able to move forward with his plans for that design. And what we're left with is a piece of LDD property. That piece of property, as we all know, is sitting there. It's conducive to single-family residential development. It's permitted for single-family residential development now. And what we have now is a situation where we have this piece of property and we have different uses around it. The map itself is not really, it does not really tell the complete story of what's in this area. What you're looking at is a map showing the current zoning designations in the city of Auburn to the surrounding property. Now, that is 100% correct, but what you do also have is all the white area on that map. And what's the white area on that map? We all know what it is. It is a large mass of mobile home parks. So, you know, we have a few things going on out here. We've got all these mobile homes. We've got this property right here that is LDD. We've got property farther west of that that is shown as zoned rural. But what is that property? That property is the City of Auburn's municipal soccer complex. Now, what you haven't seen is any medium density residential property in the area. You won't find it here in the zoning map, and you won't find it in the immediate vicinity on the future land use plan. But is that, you know, predominantly an issue of the planning staff creates focus areas and studies those focus areas on a continuous basis. And this has not been part of the focus area yet. It hasn't come up yet.